Hello filmmakers, it's Kerry with Filmmaker Central, and today we're going to answer basically the top 10 questions about the new DJI mic. So stay right there. We'll be right back. All right, so we see a lot of questions on Facebook and the forums asking the same things over and over and over again. So I'm going to address pretty much like the top 10 questions that I see all the time about the DJI mic. And just as a recap, I love this thing. It is so well designed, so well thought out. It's just, it's an amazing little device. And that's coming from someone who uses wireless mics all the time. I've had the Rode Wireless Go, the Rode Wireless Go 2, the Comica Boom X-D Pro, Sennheisers. I've had a plethora of wireless mics, and this is my favorite. Not because I'm a DJI fanboy, but because it works. And I love the form factor. I love the functionality. Great product. But there are some things people keep asking over and over and over again. So we're going to get to them. One of the first is, how do I use it with a DJI Osmo Action? Now with an Action 2, you can just use the USB adapter or the USB-C adapter and plug it right in to an Action 2. No problem. Works super easy because it's a digital interface. But when it comes to the Osmo Action, you cannot just plug it in. It won't see it. It's because the Osmo Action doesn't support digital interfaces. So what you need, and this is the same with any mic for the Osmo Action, you need the Sinova mic adapter. So this is going to plug in to the side of the Osmo Action, and then you're going to use the supplied cable. Get all the stuff out here. The supplied cable from the Sinova to the output on the side of the DJI mic receiver. So in that case, it's going to work like any other microphone on the Action. You have to have the mic adapter. Action 2, plug it right in with the USB adapter. Action, you got to have the adapter. Same with the Osmo Pocket. The Osmo Pocket has this big dongle that you need. You can use that and use it the same way with the camera cable. The Pocket 2, well, that's a little different. You can't really use it in the same fashion. There's already a wireless mic system for it. There's really no need to add another microphone. You're not going to gain anything by going to this one. If you absolutely have to have dual microphones with the Pocket 2, then you would go from the wireless microphone from the Pocket 2 and then go from there into one of the transmit, or you would take the two transmitters, go into the receiver, come out of the receiver with the out, and go in to the microphone port on the Pocket 2 wireless microphone. Kind of a kludge to get that working, but in a pinch you kind of could, or kind of can. Okay, that's the Osmo Action. Now how do we do it with a GoPro? Well, there's two ways to do it with a GoPro. One is you have the media mod, which has a microphone in port on it, or you have the GoPro mic adapter. Again, you cannot just go into the USB port. It does not support digital interface, so you're going to use something like the microphone adapter. This plugs into the USB port on the GoPro, and it has a microphone in on the end of that. So that's how to use it with a GoPro. All right, using it with an iPhone. Well, it is extremely straightforward, actually, because it comes with a lightning adapter. So you would just take the lightning adapter, plug it in, and plug it into the bottom of the phone. Pretty simple, right? Well, there's one problem, and this is what comes up all the time, is people saying, well, I did that, but it's only coming in mono on the phone. That's absolutely true. And in fact, if we remove the lightning adapter and we plug it in, first thing it says, only supports mono. So there's no trick, there's no workaround, there's nothing you can do to get around that. The lightning adapter with this only supports mono. Now, I don't know if that's something that they can change in the future. I don't know if it's software, I don't know if it's hardware, I don't know if it's a phone limitation. I don't know what the issue is, but I've put in a feature request to have that work in stereo. Don't know if that's going to be a thing or not. So can't tell you, but I do know right now with an iPhone, it's only mono. I have heard that with Android devices, when using the USB-C adapter, you do get stereo. So I've never tested that. I only use an iPhone for things like that. So there's that. Okay, next question. How do I use it as an audio device on my computer? How can I use it with software like Camtasia or OBS or anything else, Zoom, whatever? Well, in the case of a MacBook Pro, it's extremely easy. You put the USB-C connector on there and you plug it into the side. It's that easy. It's now an audio device on the MacBook Pro. I don't have a Windows machine here to try and go through the setup. And I have one Windows laptop. It's very, very old. It doesn't even have a USB-C port on it. So I'm not really sure that I have a way of doing that. But if you have USB-C, it should work. On here, very simple. Just plug it in. So there's that. Okay, next. How do I upgrade the firmware? Okay, that is super simple. First, you go to DJI's website, go to dji.com/mic, go to downloads. You'll see that there are two files, one for the transmitter and one for the receivers. Well, anytime you plug these in via USB into your laptop or desktop computer, it will pop up as a drive. So you open up that file, you take the bin file, drag it onto the drive that you see for this, eject it, and it should just start doing the update. It's really, really simple. So even the receiver will act as a pop-up drive. Just drag the file over, and when you eject it, it started doing firmware update. It went super smooth. So no problems there. All right, what cameras or phones is the system compatible with? Well, good question. And the short answer is, with cameras, if it has a microphone input, it should work. Very simple. This is a Sony ZV-1 on the side, has a mic input. I'll put that on there. In fact, I'll show you exactly how I set this up. Let me put the cold shoe adapter back in place. Slide that in. Now, the little belt clip on here fits into a hot shoe or cold shoe. So I can just slide it in place, take the cable, put it into the output. I'm ready to record. Pretty simple. So most any camera is going to work in this exact same way. If it has a 3.5 millimeter microphone port, this is going to work. So shouldn't be any issues there. In terms of phones, well, good question. And fortunately, DJI has a DJI Mic mobile phone compatibility list. And it has tons of iPhones going back to the iPhone 8, has some Huawei's, Honor, Google, Samsung's, Xiaomi, Oppo, never even heard of that one. So it should work pretty much with anything that has an appropriate port on it. So if it has a USB-C port, it should work. If it has a Lightning port, it should work. Of course, there's going to be bajillions of phones that are not on their compatibility list because they can't go and test every single phone out there. So your mileage may vary, but if it supports USB mic, it should work. It shouldn't be any big deal at all to get that to work. Okay, getting into some harder ones. What are the best camera settings to use? Well, that's a good question because there's a couple different things on here. The transmitters have adjustable gain. The transmitter has adjustable gain, and most of your cameras are going to have adjustable audio input. So what's the best settings? Honestly, it depends on your camera. Some cameras have pretty good preamps. Some don't. If you do not have a very good preamp on your camera, then you're going to want to boost the power from the receiver and the transmitters, boost that volume up and turn down the record volume on the camera. If your camera's got a good preamp, well then you can tone down the gains here and increase the record volume on your camera. Me, on my Sony ZV-1 and my Sony a7 III, I'm running those at about a 7 to 10 setting, and that seems to work extremely well. So I'm not having any problems with that configuration. So you gotta have to play with it and see what combination of gain and record volume is going to result in the least amount of noise. Because if you don't have those proper, you could introduce some hiss or some static type sound to it. So you're going to have to play with it. I would start with the lowest camera settings and a medium to mid-high gain on the system, and then start increasing the camera settings until you get the record volume that you want. Typically, you want to be recording between like -10 and -12 dB. If you can get into that sweet spot, you're probably going to be in really good shape. Okay. This next one is going to be a little tougher because I'm going to have to show my screen and show you what we're doing. But the question is, when I pull in the recordings, it's like one could be on one channel and the other mic is going to be on another channel. Well, how do I make it so that they're both coming out of both speakers? And it's not that difficult, so we're going to show you. Before you get going and recording, you need to make sure that the receiver and the mics are set up properly. And the way I'm going to have it set when I have two people is it's going to be in stereo mode, and then I can set which receiver I want on the left and which receiver I want on the right. So I've got one on the left and number two on the right. If you're in mono on here, then everything is just going to be mixed right in the camera. And there's not going to be any way of separating it or balancing them. So you want to make sure it's in stereo. That way you're going to get separate audio tracks. Now I'm using DaVinci Resolve. This is my editing tool of choice. So how you do this in other programs may be a little bit different, but the concept is going to be the same. So here I've got the clip, and we can go ahead and play this. This is the audio from channel 1. This is the audio from channel 2. Now, when I hear that, the audio 1 is coming out of the left, audio 2 is coming out of the right. What I want is both of them to come out of both speakers. So I'm going to come up here to the clip. This is before I put it on the timeline, and I'm going to go to clip attributes. I'm going to go to audio. So here we see we have stereo setting with channel 1 on the left and channel 2 on the right. So I'm going to say, no, put channel 1 on both channels. Come up here, I'm going to add another stereo channel, put channel 2 on the left and channel 2 on the right. Now we'll replay this. This is the audio from channel 1. This is the audio from channel 2. And now both channels are coming out of both speakers. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull this to the timeline. Let's zoom in on this. And we can see the left side has a waveform and the right side has a waveform. And you can see one is louder than the other just looking at the waveform. So this gives me the ability to individually adjust. So I'll unlink these and I can go here and increase the volume so that the two tracks match. And yeah, I could get more complicated and really listen and try and get it exactly right. I'm going to watch my meters to make sure that they're both coming to the same point, but it really that simple. So I can mix two different channels this way, have one speaker on one, another speaker on the other, and then when I get into post-production, individual tracks so that I can adjust them accordingly. Works really, really well. So that's gets into, and I kind of discussed it, how do I set this up for different situations? Well, the short answer is you can just leave it on stereo. There's very few situations where I'm going to be needing it to be in mono and pre-mix it. Because when you're using two mics, the odds that the audio going into each one is going to be at the same level is pretty thin. Now, where the DJI mic has a huge advantage over some of the other systems is on the display, I can see a meter on here. And if need be, I can then adjust the gain on each individual transmitter so that they're matching on the display here. So if I'm recording with an iPhone, which is only going to record in mono, as I mentioned earlier, then I need to get the two microphones as close to each other as possible for the two people that have the mics on them, because I want them to be as balanced as I can. No two people are going to have the same output volume. I'm really loud, Katarina's very quiet, so I have to raise hers, I have to lower mine, and I try and get them as close as possible on the screen here, which results in less editing I need to do in post-production. But if I am going to shoot on my phone, knowing it's only going to record mono, then I want to make sure I really pay attention to these meters and balance those gains to try and get them to match as closely as possible. So there's kind of my top 10 questions answered of the DJI mic system. As I said, I am a huge fan. It works remarkably well. It has replaced all my other wireless microphones because of the functionality, because of the ease of seeing the screen, because how easy it is to look at this and go, oh, I need to raise that person, I need to lower this person. I don't want someone to be clipping because the gain is too high. I don't want someone to be too quiet because the gain is too low. And I can adjust that accordingly. Works like a charm. So for those reasons, that's why I'm sticking with the DJI mic system. I hope this answered some of your questions. If you have more questions about using the DJI mic, put them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them because I'm using the system basically on a daily basis for every project that I have right now. So thanks for watching, everybody. This has been Kerry with Filmmaker Central. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.